Here we are. Just think about, analyze, contemplate his words, advice about how to die well and how to help others die well, so that we can, get a decent future life. That's the point of it all. It's the point for Rinpoche. That's the point of it all. Rinpoche, the point is that. So we need to prepare for it. So we're going to listen to all this advice coming from Lama Zopa from his book, How to Face Death Without Fear. So in the short term, we can be prepared for death, help others, so that we can continue on our path with as least interruption as possible, so we can achieve our full result, the Buddhahood, which we would say is our natural potential. Based on compassion, we wish to help others. Sangye Charan Soke Chognamla, Tantra Bari Dagni Kyapsuchi, Dagi Chani and Gipe Sonam Ki, Jona Penchu, Sangye Drupa Shok, Sangye Charan Soke Chognamla, Tantra Bari Dagni Kyapsuchi, Dagi Chani and Gipe Sonam Ki, Jona Penchu, Sangye Drupa Shok. What we're saying is, we're going to take refuge with Dhamma Sangha, and listen to these teachings so we can become a Buddha, so we can help others. Into enlightenment. That's what we said. Okie doke. Okay. So we mentioned Kurukulla times. So let's go through the sort of the beginnings, a series of the beginnings of the advice, which is sort of like part 3. I'll explain. So the back part 1 and 2 are sort of background stuff. Okay? The 12 links, and the process of death. We're going to go into that when we get to the point. So then, I think there's chapter 10 in part 2. Death is what the yogis have been waiting for. I mentioned this yesterday. Let me just read from this chapter. This is for the benefit of those who've got high Soga Tantra initiation, or for you if you're thinking of taking one. But if you don't know, then fine, just listen and know. So generally, it's not permitted to openly give details about the methods of the great yogis use. However, I feel it's useful to talk about it here. So death is the moment they've been waiting for. Which of course sounds hilarious, doesn't it? What are you talking about? It's a bit understanding, At the point in the death process when all the grosser consciousnesses have ceased, which means the first stages, the first 4 stages, which are the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the air element. By the time you get to the 4th stage, your senses have gone, the elements have gone, and you look like you're dead. Okay? But you're not dead yet. Your gross consciousness has ceased. We're going to go through all this. So therefore, your gross physical body has ceased. Right? It's not dead yet. Then you've got the subtle level, the next 3 stages, they're a bit more subtle, this deconstruction of the mental states, conceptual states of mind, to get to the 8th one, which is the subtlest level of mind, inextricably linked to the subtlest physicality. And that's the clear light mode. So when all the grosser levels are ceased and you only the extremely subtle consciousness, the 8th one, or clear light consciousness, is left. As discussed in the last chapter, we'll go into this. Yogis, those who have observed karma well, kept their precepts purely, spent their lives training their minds in the clear light meditation, and have been able to recognize the space-time clear light, imagined, visualized ones, are now able to recognize the clear light of death. In other words, great yogis, we've been saying all their life, we've got single point of concentration in the sutra teachings, shamatha, but here we're talking the tantric teaching, where the mind, through the tantric techniques, the mind can get even more subtle, using the sutra techniques, even more subtle. Effectively, they're trained in single point of concentration, utilizing their deity practices, and have learned, the greatest yogis, to go to the subtlest level. Even those of them who have even been able, as he says, to achieve the base time, the kind of visualize process. And so what they're doing is, in all these deity practices, which is mentioned here, you're combining it with the 8 stages of death, and meditation on the 8 stages of death. It's a combination. So he says, are able now to recognize the clear, they can remain in meditation in the clear light, conjoined with emptiness, for as long as they wish. And that's the entire point of why the yogis, death is what they're waiting for, because at the death, the clear light stage, the 8th one, is the most subtle, the most subtle level. You can replicate that in your meditations, but it's not as subtle. You can, and we go through these 8 stages every time we go to sleep. Every time you might faint or whatever, you go through these 8 stages. It's like a technological thing. It's like, this is what happens. But of course, we don't practice. You go to sleep, you go through the 8 stages, you snore all night, you wake up the next morning. But the yogis can utilize their sleep as well, right? But you've got to have concentration to do that. It's highly advanced. They use their sleep and their meditation all their life, and that prepares them to happily go through the 8 stages of death, which is more dramatic, and it's a more dramatic, more subtle level somehow. They're ready for that, and the greatest yogis can utilize this at the time of death, and that's why death is what they've been waiting for. Otherwise, it sounds very morbid and weird, doesn't it? Or depressed. Can't wait to die. Not like that. So they can stay in meditation for as long as they like, an hour, 3 days, months even. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he passed away in 1984, in March 1984, in America, in the States. Where are we? We're in the States, so I'm going to get confused where I am. In the States, even though I live here now, I still forget. And he passed away in Los Angeles at this hospital. He was at his house in Amtos in California with the students. And then they took him to hospital, and he passed away. I'll read from that. And he was able, I'll read from that in a minute. Yeah. I mean, he's got Dalai Lama's root guru, he stayed in meditation for 13 days. So what you see is they're sitting up, actually. Lama Zopa wasn't sitting up, but some of them sit in meditation. I remember Lama Yeshe years ago, he sent I saw photos. One of his lamas called, mentions it here, I can't remember his name now. He's a friend of Lama Yeshe's, but he was Lama Zopa's lamas. He was a great yogi. There were photos of him in meditation, and they stayed for several days. Well, because their sensory consciousness has ceased, the body kind of shrivels. They look a bit sort of shrunken and small, but they're still, the subtle mind is still there. So that means they're not dead yet. But their body looks distinctively shrunken. Some can stay like that for many, many days, like I said. Lama Yeshe was lying down, he was in the hospital, and they drove him from Los Angeles up to Vajrapani Institute, and this whole before the funeral thing started, so it was at least 5 days, he was meditating before they burnt his body, And many examples like this. So by concentrating in this subtler state, without distraction, some practitioners achieve enlightenment at that time, because that's, you see, basically here we are living in this human body with this conceptuality and the sensory. It's a very gross level of mind that this is of course not the neuroscientific view, this is a Buddhist view, the Vajrayana view. We're living in an extremely gross level of conception, of cognition. The job of mind is to cognize. The job of mind is to know. It's simply a verb meaning be aware. It's not some kind of powerful knowing, like special. Just the mind cognizes or knows phenomena. Cognizes is aware of or knows. These are synonyms. It's the job of mind. We live at the grossest level. Conceptuality of the mental consciousness, and then the grossest level is the sensory consciousness. So we've got these subtler levels, and these great Indian yogis created this technique well before the Buddha, the one of shamatha in the sutra practices. But then through the Vajrayana, the techniques are even more powerful that enable your mind to get to even a more subtle level. And so you have to ask, why do you want to get to a subtle level of mind? Very simple. It's like the microscope of your mind. You see, it's impossible to just realize emptiness. It's impossible to realize emptiness, which is the first major step we have to accomplish in order to get the head out of samsara, in order to combine it with bodhicitta, in order to become a Buddha. The major shift has to be to realize emptiness. Well, it's impossible to do that with the growth of mind. We can learn about it now. We have to do that. You use your conceptuality to learn about all these things. It's a stepping stone. But you've got to access the microscope of your mind. Only that level, which is necessarily non-conceptual, can that level of mind cognize the absence of an inherent I. That's why you've got to get the mind to the subtlest level. That's what these techniques are for. And then not only that, but these Vajrayana techniques not only enable you to realize emptiness, but to actually remove all the obstacles from the mind, all the obscurations, and achieve Buddhahood. And the greatest yogis who have practiced throughout their lives, those who haven't done it in this life, are able to do it at the time of death. That's the whole point. So it's a practical issue, not some kind of hippie, trippy, cosmic thing. So by concentrating in the subtlest level without distraction, some even achieve enlightenment at the time. They actually realize, okay, the three bodies of a Buddha. Okay, I have to explain that. We discussed it briefly yesterday when I said that we've got the grosser level, that the Buddhas manifest at a gross level, the Nimanakaya, which is known as the emanation body, which looking like you and me. That's the grossest level they manifest. So you got the Dharmakaya. Okay, it's just a Sanskrit word, and they translate it as truth body. It just refers to the mind. When you're fully enlightened, when you fully develop Buddhahood, your mind is now pure. It doesn't need a gross level. Doesn't need a body. You don't need bodies. What for? You're fully developed. Your mind pervades the universe. Your mind knows that which exists. It's got full wisdom. Your mind has empathy for every living being. And all this is implicit in this Dharmakaya. So then out of compassion, that's what caused that person to become a Buddha. So because they're driven by compassion, their only wish is to benefit sentient beings, then they manifest in bodies, So even in the lowest level bodhisattva, as you go through your stages of developing, becoming a Buddha, the lowest level of bodhisattvas on the 10 stages, once you realize emptiness and become an Arya bodhisattva, you've got 10 stages before you achieve Buddhahood. Even the lowest level bodhisattvas already are capable of manifesting their mind in 100 different forms simultaneously, Driven by this incredible compassion and this power they accomplish. And as you keep going, that's multiplies. And eventually you're a Buddha, so you have this mind pervading the universe, knowing that which exists, having infinite empathy. Then out of compassion, you manifest in bodies to help sentient beings. And as I said, there's two kinds. The grosser level, so they call the supreme Nimanakaya, which is Shakyamuni Buddha, the founding Buddhas of a certain time. So our Buddha is Shakyamuni. There are many times when Buddhas come, the founding Buddhas in a certain time. Ours is Shakyamuni. So that's what they call the supreme Nimanakaya. But then already the Buddha can manifest in countless forms. This is what we have to understand the Vajrayana about how the universe consists of minds and matter, and that's it. And matter is made of the four elements. This model explains this. That's why we can understand it. Hell realms, spirits, animals, humans, and gods. Each mind, due to karma, the actions we do and the states of mind we have, program our minds and impact upon the wind energies, which then in turn then causes the type of body we get. So our mind creates those, because mind and body are inextricably linked at the subtlest level. And then within the subtle level, I mentioned, got 72,000 subtle channels, all the air energy, the prana coursing through those channels, and all the air energies are inextricably linked to our different states of mind. Like I say, this is not neuroscience. And so whatever your mind does impacts upon the winds. So, you go to your Tibetan doctor, she'll feel your pulses. She'll feel the imbalance of the wind energies in all these different channels, and she will know this particular imbalance is linked to your attachment, which is why you're having panic attacks and anxiety, or OCD, all the other dramas, Your attachment mind's berserk. So it pollutes your wind energy, which basically then causes you eventually for your grosser body to feel the symptoms, Do you understand? So you got the gross. So the Buddhas, purify all these levels, and so they can pure mind when they're a Buddha, but then they manifest in bodies. So the Nimanakaya one, there's the supreme one, which is Shakyamuni, but they can manifest in any form they like. So wherever there are the four elements, basically, they can conjoin their mind wherever they want with the four elements. Buddhas can manifest as a thermos, meaning they can conjoin their mind and they can appear a thermos for you. So when you create some merit, they can manifest their mind to conjoin with any of the four elements. Wherever the four elements, the Buddha's mind can conjoin with that and manifest in a form that's suitable to sentient beings. That means they manifest as hell beings and spirits and gods and ants and toilets, whatever you want. So all the Nimanakayas.
the emanation bodies. Of course, you don't recognize. You see a dog, you don't see Buddha. There's a lovely story about, Rinpoche told in the late 70s, I'm sure he's told it many times, about the time when the Tibetans first came out of Tibet, and all the lamas were so kind of strongly emphasizing trying to get land in India where they could build their monasteries and carry on, pass on from the older holy beings' minds to the younger minds to keep the Dharma alive, right? So they needed land desperately. So they were negotiating with the Indian government. And the story is something like this, must be in the early 60s. And Dalai Lama was, His Holiness was up in Dharamsala, settled there, you know, the exile and government exile. And he sent one of his ministers, something like this, down to Delhi. So those days, you know, it was up in Dharamsala, you had to take a bus or a taxi down to, what is it called, Patankot. Then you took a train, you know, 3rd class, 2nd class, 1st class, whichever you preferred. 12 hours down to Delhi. And then he went down to Delhi, and then he went to the government minister's office, and he couldn't get a meeting, and he got very frustrated, went back up the train, up the Patankot, got his taxi, went up the top to the hills, went to His Holiness, got frustrated and fed up, he couldn't get a meeting. His Holiness said, don't you worry, go right back down to Delhi now. So he did, and that day he was in the office with the Indian minister, and his little boy, the Indian minister's little son, was in the office with his daddy, and he was chatting to the Tibetan. And the little boy expressed the wish for a dog. Well, the Tibetan was delighted to get it. I'll get you a dog, grease the wheels, you know, be happy, make the Indian daddy happy. So he went outside, and there was a sadhu, and the sadhu had a dog. Well, can I buy your dog? He bought the little dog, gave it to the little boy. He was delighted, ran to his daddy. Daddy was happy, everything worked. You with me? Yeah. Okay, so then, as according to Lama Zopa, the sadhu and the dog are in fact the Dalai Lama's mind. Manifesting. So this is kind of so cosmic for us, but when you think of the world, if it's like this, the whole world looks different to you, you know? I mean, Tibetans have a saying, you don't know who anybody is, so don't judge, okay? So when you know that low 10th level bodhisattvas, all the way up to Buddha, can manifest their mind in any formula, like up to 100, and then up more, then, I mean, it's insane, you know, it's incredible, the power and the compassion. So they're all Nimanakayas. So this, you know, so if you'd seen that dog, okay, believe me, you wouldn't see the Dalai Lama. He wouldn't kind of wink, I'm the Dalai Lama. You know, he wouldn't be like that. You'd see a dog. He'd act like a dog, pee like a dog. He might be a mean dog. You can never tell unless you're clairvoyant. So clear. So you don't know where the Buddhas are, you know. It's a kind of outrageous view, isn't it? So the dog and the sadhu. So that didn't mean they had to get born from a mummy. The Buddhas can manifest these, whatever they like. And because the Buddhas are manifesting, they can manifest countless bodies, and they're only manifesting bodies throughout the hell realms, God realms, animal realms, this realm, that realm, because they're infinitely full of compassion, full of wisdom, full of compassion, and full of power. That's what a Buddha is. So of course they're going to be manifesting bodies all the time to help poor peanuts like you and me. So they're the Nimanakayas. Then you've got the Sambhogakayas, the subtle light bodies. You can't see those unless you're an Arya Bodhisattva. Like, for example, Tsongkhapa received all his teachings from Manjushri in the subtle light body form. The greatest yogis can see the Sambhogakaya. Apparently, you know, Kundala, that student of Rinpoche's, that lady, Kundala, she's also one of his lamas. In 2019, when I was at Courtin, I was the Western teacher that year. It was the last Courtin course. Rinpoche did it because then the pandemic came. I remember I was there. And Rinpoche said, she's my first lady lama. He's her Lama, but she's also his Lama, you know, it was very sweet. She's my first lady Lama, he said, you know. Anyway, she was apparently renowned. She came from Tibet as a little girl on her own, trunked, you know, very determined and in charge of her own life, trudging over the mountains. And she got to Dharamsala and was determined to have a meeting with His Holiness. And she's a little girl. Who's going to take notice of a little girl on her own, you know, nobody. And apparently she'd see His Holiness driving in the car, she'd faint, but she'd see the Sambhogakaya, you know. So anyway, she was desperate to get to His Holiness, and she finally went to have a meeting with Courtin Rinpoche, and of course Rinpoche could see who she was, this special being. Lama Zopa said she became fully developed as Vajrayogini into this life, you know. So anyway, Courtin said, I will build a golden bridge between you and His Holiness, he said, you know. So she wanted to do a long life puja for His Holiness. So she met His Holiness, and he told the monks to do whatever she said. So this little girl, she's like a teenager, I think, but she organized this puja. And apparently there's some Tilopa or something place in Dharamsala, I've never been there, cave or something. And she went there and she asked the monks to give her a bumper vase, you know, and she picked up this rock and she squeezed it and nectar came out of the rock and into the little cup, and she offered that to His Holiness at the Long Life Puja, and he drank the lot, you know. These nice stories. Anyway, where was I? So this is the three bodies of the Buddha, the Dharmakaya, the enlightened mind, the Sambhogakaya, the subtler light body, it's still a body, but it's subtle light. So at the grosser level, we can have this too. I mean, the grosser level, in samsara, gods have bodies made of light because they're virtue, and that's created by virtue. That's one thing about, I mean, Lama Zopa said, when we understand that, you know, we've got the subtle body and the subtle mind. This is the gross one. The subtle one is those 72,000 subtle channels or nervous system through which are coursing all these wind energies, all this prana, and then inextricably linked to those winds is your mind or different states of mind. So as Lama Zopa says, just having an angry thought naturally programs your mind in anger. That's what it does, that's karma. And then also inextricably, because it's inextricably linked to the wind, it pollutes the winds. So eventually that polluted wind manifests at the grosser level, eventually in the future, as sickness. So if you have the karma to have sickness, which is an environmental result of past killing and harming others, you know, you get sick and you have weakness and terrible things happen and you drink water, it poisons you, you can't, I mean, that's what environmental karma is, and it's from your mind. We create it over many lifetimes. Equally, when you have a loving thought, you program your mind with love, it programs your mind with love, the tendency to be loving, and it purifies your winds. It's just thoughts. At the grosser level, speech. I mean, wow, let's talk about speech, you know. I love the blessing the speech meditation. Maybe we'll do that. I love blessing the speech meditation. We mightn't go around killing each other, but we surely use our speech to make a mess, don't we? Look at us, you know. We'll go into that later. So, you know, you've got this subtle, so the subtle level, your mind purifies the winds or pollutes the winds, which in turn manifests as sickness or good health. And then your speech, not to mention your body, this purifies your mind or pollutes the mind. So what a hell realm is this nightmarish, unbelievable, nightmarish pain from the mind of a person who's harmed others, practiced harming others. Then you're reborn, because karma multiplies. You're reborn in this nightmarish environment with your body virtually, you know, the four elements, and the predominant one of the hell realm has to be the fire energy. All these stories you read, the Christians talk about it, the Muslims talk about it. Many similar experiences, all the yogis and all the different paths talk about. The fire element, predominantly got the four elements. So the hell realm will be predominant of fire element, isn't it? And your mind's conjoined with that. I mean, of course your experiences will be nightmarish, unbelievable painful suffering. As like I said, as Lama Yeshe said, hell isn't some place where the devil's waiting. You know, you're not sent there. This is like so superstitious. Saying, haha, I'm waiting for Lama Yeshe. Hell is this manifestation of your own past negative karma, and which pollutes your wind energies, your four elements, and then you now manifest in a form predominantly fire, you could argue, your mind conjoined with that, and the nightmarish karmic appearances of a hell being. We create all of this. The spirits is mainly attachment energy. All the spirits run from pillar to post, driven by attachment, you know. Some can be nightmarishly suffering. All these hungry, all the ghosts we talk about, ghosts, you know. I mean, I just remember this story, Geshe Lama Contra, this amazing holy being. I don't know if he ever came here. One of Lama's friends, and Sarah J, back in the 40s and 50s, and he meditated years and years up in the mountains, no food, no sleep, naked. He lived in Vajrayogini's pure land, Lama Zopa said. And when he came to Courtin finally after Lama Yeshe passed away, Lama Zopa said when Lama Yeshe passed away, all the smiles at Courtin went away. When Geshe Lama Contra came, all the smiles came back. He lived there for years, you know, and he lived up in the mountains naked all these years. And he used one of his, because these great yogis can completely control the elements internally and then externally. That's how come they can manifest in different bodies, and they can manipulate the external elements. So these monks, all the local villagers, when they first met him after being years in the caves, they traipsed up for 2 hours to see Geshe Lama crying, "We need rain, Geshe Lama, we need rain." He said, "When you want it, how many days?" He'd book it in, and then the rain would come. And they change it. They can manipulate the external elements. They can ride on the wind. It's because the elements is the way the world is, and their mind and the elements. So the elements here are the same elements as there. And the greatest yogis can completely manipulate all of that. That's how come you can manifest in more than one body. It's all logical. It all fits with this system, you know. Just to study it, that's all. So the Dharmakaya, the enlightened mind. Then, out of compassion, naturally manifesting in countless bodies all the time, these Nimanakayas, and that includes your own guru. I mean, if Dalai Lama is a Buddha, and they all say he is, I can't say, I'm not clairvoyant, but I'm happy to have confidence, you know, then he's manifesting, never stopping. We see this nice old Tibetan gentleman sitting up there. That's just one form. Come on. They can't help but, it's not possible not to be manifesting in bodies all the time to benefit sentient beings. It's their job, you know. It's their job. They're the Nimanakayas. The ones you can see and recognize, like the Buddha's form or our own guru's form, teaching you the Dharma. But you know, that crazy dog over there, like that little dog, it looks like a dog, acts like a dog, you know, but it can't be a dog. It's the Buddha, it's the Dalai Lama's mind who is a Buddha pretending to be a dog. And from that point of view, Dalai Lama's not a human. He can't be. He's pretending to be a human. That's the way to say it. These are all the Nimanakayas, the emanation bodies, for the sake of sentient beings. So the deity's body, they're the examples of the Sambhogakaya. And there's trillions of these. I mean, all the deities, this is Vajrayana. It's just psychology. You've got the 5 Buddha families, each represents the manifestation of purified anger, attachment, ignorance, you know, 5 main delusions, or 6 or something. And then all under those are all the other deities. It's like this kind of structure, you know. So it's just all psychology. Chenrezig is compassion. Manjushri is wisdom. Tara is energy and power, you know, action. They're all manifestations either of virtues you want to cultivate or of purified aspects of delusions you want to purify. It's just psychology. It can't not be psychology. And these are all the Sambhogakayas, these subtler light bodies. And they don't just float around in an empty sky. They also manifest environments, and that's the Pure Land, you know. So the Arya Bodhisattvas and those beyond are the ones who can cognize directly. So, you know, and then you've got, so that's the 3, the Dharmakaya, the manifestation of the mind, purified subtle one is the Sambhogakaya, and then the purified grosser one is the emanation body. So this is where the death process can be utilized by these yogis. You go through the 8 stages of death, and we can practice that every day. We're going to go into this. The yogis are able to do that. And they're actually in their meditation, because the ones who've got concentration down, you know, they're able to go through this and then you're in your deity. This is what I'm reading now, back to this one. I'm reading what Rinpoche is saying. I'm reading Rinpoche, and then I'll explain. So the practices these yogis do are available to those who have taken a highest Tantra initiation, you know, like Kala Chakra, Vajrayogini, Haruka Chakra Samvara, Hevajra, Gyawa Gyatso, the different deities, Vajrayogini, all these ones, okay? They are the quickest methods for achieving enlightenment in one brief lifetime of this degenerate time. That phrase that you hear Rinpoche say a lot is referring to, which is very weird for us, but it's referring, this degenerate time means this time of this human planet. I mean, again, this is weird to us, but let's spell it out, you know. If minds are beginningless, if delusions are beginningless, then realms of existence called hells and humans and animals and gods are also beginningless, because they're just manifestations of states of mind. So that's a bit weird to us, because the best we can do, I mean, in our materialist view, we can track humans back. We see, you know, go back to the monkeys, isn't it? So because we take this earth as our existence, this planet. But that's not the way the Buddhists would say it. Human, the characteristics of a human are virtue, okay? Love, compassion. The delusions we share with animals, they're just the same. We share those with the hell beings. We share those with the spirits. They're nothing special. But human birth, eons before, this is the thing about eons before this human planet, I don't know how far back that goes. I'm trying to think about, when did humans start on this planet? We're very curious. We talk about it going back to the monkeys, but that doesn't make sense to the Buddhist view. If a human is predominantly virtues, then at what point on this planet were there just humans who had only virtue? I mean, it's very curious. I mean, Lord Buddha decided to be born as an Indian. And I found it very curious. I was listening to the BBC one time, the radio, when I was in Nepal. And these, what are they called? Archaeologists?
Right.
They look into people, isn't it? So these archaeologists talked about how they were uncovering in the Hindu civilization, they discovered that there was no evidence of weapons. So what do you think that means? No anger. So I mean, that's pretty advanced, isn't it? Where will you find a culture where there's no anger, where there's no weapons? You won't find it. Even the nicest people, there are weapons. These nice American Indians had weapons. Nice Australian Aboriginals had weapons. Everybody has weapons. And what do you think creates weapons, for God's sake? Anger. You think about it. Think about it. So I don't know when humans started on this planet. I mean, thinking of the Buddhist view, it can't be very long ago. Maybe it's only in some. So now we're humans. So it's sort of, they talk about how, so this degenerate age business is Lama Zopa referring to this particular time, meaning the last few thousand years, you know. And so where was human before that? You've got to think, I mean, I would think about that one. Well, they talk about the human before this planet. A human birth was extremely subtle. It seems like it was more like a God realm. Because of virtue, having practiced virtue, your physical energies, your four elements, were predominantly light. That's how come gods have light bodies. Because being born as a God realm is the fruit of lots of goodness, lots of virtue, kindness, helping others, generosity, but not spiritual practice. This is the point. So the natural result of virtue is a God realm, where you're born with this subtle light body, and because your body is subtle light body, the mind is blissful, is radiantly blissful, but you've got attachment still. That's why the God realm, we're talking about that. There's massive, unbelievable attachment, because all you're experiencing is joy and bliss, and it's all we want is joy and bliss, and you're totally grasping at it. So you have it, and eventually it runs out, the petrol tank of virtue runs out, and you go back to the lower realms because you haven't realized emptiness. So that's so a human birth. Well, you could say it was a bit like that, but you had virtue. So you wanted to practice. So you'd hear the teachings, you'd realize, and they lasted like 1,000 years. That's how they talk. Because this is not the scientific view. It's only deduce this, you know. So slowly over time, degeneration started to happen. That means the imprints of attachment and the delusions were there, but they were like latent. But gradually they start to manifest, and that would pollute your wind energies. More and more attachment, more and more attachment. And eventually you now get born as a human on a planet, sharing it with a bunch of apes. Talking about degenerate times. That's my analysis of it. Kind of trying to track the time of it all, you know. So you got these, so these yogis, let's go back to the yogis. Okay, they're the quickest methods, this is the highest yoga tantra methods, the deity practices, they're the quickest methods for achieving enlightenment in one brief lifetime of this degenerate time. Doing these practices, by doing them, you can collect in just a few years the merit that would otherwise take you 3 countless great eons on the Mahayana perfection vehicle. So what that means is there's something particularly skillful about tantric methods. On the sutra path, if you look at the 6 perfections are the final stages of the bodhisattva's path to enlightenment. You get renunciation to the first and second scopes. Then you get bodhicitta. And then from bodhicitta, you now do the 6 perfections, life after life after life, perfecting the first 4 in relation to sentient beings, generosity, morality, patience, and enthusiasm. And then in your meditation, you're perfecting the last 2, concentration and wisdom. And the combination of these 6 finally is Buddhahood, and it takes 3 countless great eons, because you've got to do one at a time. There's the method side, which you do in relation to sentient beings bopping around, and then the wisdom side is done in meditation. Whereas Tantra, it seems, I don't understand it, during these tantric techniques, you're accumulating merit and wisdom together. This is why you can get enlightenment 3, very quickly using the tantric methods. That's what they say. That's what the holy beings say. So these practices, these sadhanas, these deity practices, as some of you might do, have a very special arrangement. And doing the sadhana every day, the complete sadhana, not just simply generating yourself as the deity and reciting the mantra without the mandala, not like that, is a very important preparation for death. You will understand this when you have received the commentaries on the generation stage and the completion stage practices. So whether you do the long version of the sadhana of the deity you are committed to do, or the middle length version, they both contain the essence of the generation stage practice, transforming the 3 experiences of death, intermediate state, and rebirth into the 3 bodies, the 3 kayas. So basically, as you go through the 8 stages of death in your meditation, combining it when you dissolve yourself into emptiness, after you've done your preliminary practices, generated the field of merit, invited the wisdom beings, done your practices and offered mandalas and created merit. You then dissolve, you do this in the 6 session Guru Yoga, it's a short version. You dissolve the deity into you and you replicate the 8 stages through that stage, through that process. And then you get to the clear light mind. And so at that first stage, that's where you practice imagining you've achieved the Dharmakaya. Then out of that Dharmakaya, out of compassion, you then manifest as the Sambhogakaya, which is usually as a seed syllable. And then from that, you then manifest as the Nirmanakaya. So the Dharmakaya one is the transformation. The death time is the transformation of the Dharmakaya. And then you imagine going to waking up into, after you leave the body, you then wake up in the bardo. Then you can transform that into the Sambhogakaya. And then when you get reborn, you transform that into the Nirmanakaya. So you do all this, replicating all of this process in your sadhana. So some of you got a sadhana, you need to understand this. It's the best way to prepare for death, as Rinpoche says, because you're training the course to achieve the 3 bodies of the Buddha. And it's only the highest yoga tantra methods that have all these techniques. You can't get enlightened unless you have. That's what they say, according to this system. Lama Yeshe talks about this in his book called The Bliss of Inner Fire. Yeah. But Rinpoche says even the short Yamataka sadhana has these 3 important points. So by meditating in this way, you prepare your mental continuum by purifying ordinary death, ordinary intermediate state, ordinary rebirth, enabling you to actualize the path-time Dharmakaya, the path-time Sambhogakaya, the path-time Nirmanakaya, thus planting the seed to achieve the result-time 3 bodies, the actual ones. When you just recite the words, there's of course a positive imprint left on your mind, but you're not strongly preparing your mind as you would if you were actually meditating. Sogen Rinpoche, Sogen Senchal Rinpoche, one of Lama's gurus, Rinpoche's gurus, used to emphasize very much that if you are busy and can't do much meditation on the deity sadhanas, when it comes to your daily commitments, you should do more elaborate meditations on your main deity. You can do your other ones quickly. However, in all your sadhanas, you must do the 3 kayas. Even if it's do it quickly, saying the words, when you do succession. It's so important. Even when you do the short succession. Most of us just skip over it, just do the 9 verses, blur, blur. But it's really important if you do the succession. When you go and the Lama of Krishna comes to the crown of my head and dissolves, we both are one, you do the 3 kayas right there. You can do it in a minute. You put the seeds in the mind there. And then you say, and I, Bodhisattva, you manifest as a deity. That's the crucial piece right in there, the generation stage. If you miss that, you miss the whole point, So even if it's not elaborate, even if you don't follow the extensive procedures, you should at least meditate on the last point, the 4 qualities of the foundation, he calls it, having the divine pride thinking. When you go into the subtle, when you go through the 8 stages and you say, I'm at the Dharmakaya, then you say, this is the result Dharmakaya, this is me. There's 4 points. This is the Dharmakaya, it's empty, it's the nature of bliss, and this is me. You just say that, then you manifest as the deity. And you get the generation stage in the causes of the generation stage in there. You need to do that. And then on the day you die, because you have trained your mind by doing your sadhana every day, you are able to recognize what's happening. The 25 stages of dissolution, we'll go through all those. The 8 stages divided about 4 or 5 at each stage, without missing any, just as you had meditated. And because your mind is well trained, you are able to recognize the clear light. And during the intermediate state, at the time of birth as well, you'll be able to meditate on and visualize the deity. So practicing the highest tantra path like this, using death as a quick path to enlightenment, is incredible. It's the quickest way to purify the defilements, the dualistic view. In other words, having prepared during the generation stage on the basis of that realization, you then actualize the path of Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya on the completion stage, actually ceasing the intellectually acquired defilements and the simultaneously born defilements. Eventually, you cut even the subtle defilements, the dualistic view. And in that moment, you achieve the result time 3 bodies, enlightenment. This is how you can enjoy death by using the tantric path, the quickest way to achieve enlightenment. So those of you who have got, try and do all that, and those of you who haven't got initiation, aspire to take. And the fact of the matter is, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is giving it online. There's no excuse in the universe not to do it. He's online. I mean, first he learns English, so we don't have to worry about learning Tibetan. Now he's then doing things online. We just have to sit there on our bed. It all comes to us. So take the opportunity. I think I get so distressed when I think of this. I'm trying to be normal. I'll try and not shout too loud. The centres, you know, this is how the centres can work together on this, you know. What I've done sometimes with people, I'm not a centre, I just work for Lama Zopa centres. I can't barge into centres and demand you do it. I can tell you, suggest things. But a few times I've done with some people, you know, for example, their first initiation, you take it online now with His Holiness. He's incredible, many Lamas are doing. But do it as a group. Have one person guiding you on it, and you all join the Zoom together, and you take the initiation together as a group from His Holiness. It's all there, but sort of we're waiting passively for someone to tell us what to do. I mean, your SPC here, whom you don't have, and so you've got Sean. Sean be organising this. Hint, hint, Sean. Are we communicating here? Are we communicating or not?
Yes.
Please.
Venerable.
Yes. Wait, who's yes? What? Yes, sweetheart.
So how do we know when we're ready to take
Okay, honey child, Lama Zopa Rinpoche talks about the 3 principal aspects of the path as a prerequisite. So if you've got confidence in renunciation, first and second scopes, if you've got confidence in bodhicitta, and you've got confidence in emptiness, honey child, you are ready.
confidence meaning I understand it?
No, understand comes eventually. I'm saying confidence. Why are you doubting what I'm saying? How many years have you been a Buddhist? 47, 9, 5?
11.
Well, it's about time you think you're ready. I don't know what you're waiting for, some sign or realization. It's you've studied the Dharma. You've got confidence. You've got a teacher. Yes, may I suggest, God Almighty. Excuse me. My old Catholic comes out. You've got confidence in the Dharma?
I do.
You do have. You've got confidence in understanding renunciation, controlling your body, controlling your speech, living in vows, doing purification, controlling your mind, understanding attachment. You've got confidence in all that. You try to do it best of your ability. You have confidence it's a valid path.
Yes.
You got confidence in bodhicitta.
Yes.
You see the examples of it, your guru, Dalai Lama.
Yes.
Confidence you can do it.
Yes.
You got confidence in emptiness.
Yes.
Well, they're the 3 prerequisites, baby. What are you waiting for? Are we communicating?
Yes.
Thank you. Ooh.
Venerable Robina, I have a question.
Yes.
Hi.
Put down, I can't hear the word now on the other
Yeah,
extreme.
there's something happened to that speaker. It's not
Oh.
working quite right.
We'll have to do mine.
But
Well, can we just do the regular iPad one? On here,
there's no audio on the iPad.
There's no iPad on the.
I'll see.
What should we do
Hopefully
then?
this will work.
So speak louder from
I
here.
I
Okay.
made it louder.
Talk loud.
Okay. Is
Good.
this loud enough? Good. Good.
Okay.
Good. Is it? This is a technical question. If we only get one initiation in our whole lives, is that enough to progress?
Sarah,
along path?
Sarah, think about it. You're saying to me, if I have one lesson from Roger Federer, is that enough? Use your common sense. It's not. You say it's technical. No, it's use your common sense. Okay. What is it? What is an initiation? Roughly speaking, is into a deity, one deity, right? And that one deity, let's say, is Chen raising, which is compassion. What about your wisdom? What about power? What about all the other qualities? How are you going to get them? Out your toe? Are we communicating, Sarah?
Hear you loud and clear.
I have a question too.
Yes, darling.
Lama Zopa Rinpoche mentioned many times in the text that at the time of death, the consciousness becomes subtler and subtler, and then you can realize by practicing and all that stuff, the clear lights. But what kind of mind is realizing the clear? Is it clear light mind is realizing clear light mind?
They use the word clear light to refer to the state of mind, but they also use clear light to refer to the realization of emptiness. So it's used in multiple ways, you know.
Because the text says you can realize the you is the.
That's right. So clear light is referring both to the subtler state of mind, but you can also say it's referring to the realization of emptiness. You can say
realizing the
it's used in these different ways.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So it's the subtlest level of your mind realizing emptiness. Yeah, do you understand? Yes, good. The microscope of your mind. Yeah, okay. So questions about all this? Any more questions, please? Anything? Something online? Any questions online about this stuff? Nothing. Okay, we'll keep going. Yes, we
I was just going to say, being raised and studying teach still in about Catholicism and.
Sorry, start again, what?
Okay, in the Catholic tradition, it is, which I'm not, I'm Buddhist now, but it is interesting to note that some saints in the Catholic tradition had bilocation.
Had what? I have
Bilocation.
no idea what that is, darling. Give me a Buddhist word for it. We're
Being
Buddhist in
at the
this room.
same place, being at two different places at the
So
same
then-
time.
so then question-
So it's like, it's more like, just like seeing how it does
So what's the
happen.
question? What's the question? So
It's-
tell me the question.
The question,
Good to have a question. What's your question?
it's not really a question, it's just a
Well, what's the point of
suggestion
you telling me that?
that it's in different traditions.
What is in different traditions?
That a Buddha can manifest in
Well, that
different
doesn't mean
places.
they're Buddhas. So yeah, not just Buddhas. Lowest level bodhisattvas can do that.
Okay, that's all,
But
just
then-
like
oh,
seeing it.
I know, but what I'm going to suggest here, not being rude about Christians, there aren't techniques to do it. You just get born because of past karma,
Right,
and that's
right.
what you think a saint is. And there's no technique for becoming a saint in the West. You can't do a course on becoming a saint.
Right.
Because we just assume God made you that way, you're special, you got born, whereas the Buddhist view is because you've past practice. And that's what people with clairvoyance in our world, you kind of, it's like this hippie trippy thing that some people can remember they were a 14th century princess one day, or 14th century, you know, but there's no system for getting that, whereas in the Buddhist view it's still existing, there's systems to achieve all that. They're all there. Do you see my point? With
Yes.
respect.
I'm always looking for links, that's all.
That's not bad, but I'm giving you an explanation of it.
Yes, thank you,
You understand?
I do.
That's true. I agree with you. There's so much common, so much in all that. That's why I find it encouraging.
Right, me too.
I mean, I know in Melbourne one time, where I come from, there's one of the women I went to school with, convent, you know, I went to the Sacré-Cœur, the French order of nuns, and this woman did too, and she got them to, at the Catholic University there, she got them to invite me to give a talk at this conference. I remember I had 20-minute slot. I remember I didn't know what to talk about, so I got there in the morning ready, and I looked up the dictionary for the definition of God, and it said 3 essential qualities: infinite wisdom, which we always use Greek words for fancy things, omniscience, infinite compassion, and infinite power, omnipotence. I thought, well, that's interesting. They're the 3 qualities of a being called a Buddha. So, of course, the Christian teachings is there's only one person like that. That's called God, and he creates everything. Is the source. There's no view that way. That's dualistic for the Buddha. There's no view like that. The Buddha's view is everybody can become one of those. So I remember my talk was the similarities between the definition of God and Buddha. I'm not sure if the Catholics liked it, but that was my talk. Okay. So of course it's massive stuff. Humans over the centuries have all seen similar things, but we've got different interpretations. Very, very, very different interpretations. Do you understand?
Oh, I do.
Excuse me, Donovan,
Yeah.
just for
Go. Yeah, go.
complete understanding,
Sorry, see what?
for complete understanding for me, a difference between taking highest yoga tantra and the lower ones. Is there a different quality?
There's 4 different, I don't know much about it all, but there's 4 different levels of Tantra. It's all very detailed in all the texts. And they're all the same principle, that you're getting an empowerment, permission to see yourself as a particular deity and to practice becoming that deity. But the highest Yoga Tantra ones have all the steps that are necessary to transform the bodies of a Buddha. Apparently, they're the ones you've got to have those in order to do this one of utilizing the transforming the Dhammakaya, the Nirmanakaya, and the Sambhogakaya. It seems like, apparently. That's how, as Rinpoche says, you know.
And there are vows.
Pardon?
And there
So
are-
only when you take the highest Yoga Tantra vows do you get what they call the Tantric. Only when you take a highest Yoga Tantra empowerment do you get the Tantric vows, and you need the Tantric vows. There's something all very technical about it all, and it's there in the teachings. But you need to get the Tantric vows, which you need to get enlightened. To get enlightened, we need to have vows. And you get the Tantric vows when you take a highest Yoga Tantra empowerment. Kala Chakra, Vajrayogini, He Vajra, He Ruka, many of them. Do you understand?
So my original question was not expressed properly,
Is what? Okay.
So I'm concerned about taking those vows.
Why is that? Why are you
Well, first of all,
concerned?
I don't know what they are. I don't know whether I'm ready to.
You don't know what?
I don't know if I'm ready to practice them.
Well, I just told you the requirements.
The same as
The requirements for practicing Tantra.
the highest.
The requirements for practicing any Tantra.
Okay,
3 prerequisites, 3 principles.
thank you,
You see?
thank you.
I mean, It seems to me the tantric path is incredibly sophisticated, incredibly complex. And these degenerate times, somehow, ironically, it's available to all of us, on our bed, from Dalai Lama speaking English to us on Zoom. It used to be you have to walk 6 months from Tibet to wherever in Tibet to even hear a Lama teach it. This degenerate times is available easily. So it's all there. So I think the main quality is Lama Zopa says, don't even pretend you'll get tantric realizations in this life. If you've got confidence, confide, with trust, or you could say with faith, confidence in the teachings, in the Buddha, in the manifestations of the Buddha in our daily lives, called the Guru, and in our own potential. That really is the base. And then that's really what you mostly need when you go into these more advanced practices. Just confidence that there's something beneficial and powerful, and you leave the imprints in your mind, you take the vows, you do your best, you treat them seriously. Do you understand? Confidence in that's the main quality, Rinpoche says, the main quality. Do you understand, darling? And if you've got a Lama, if you have a Lama in your life whom you feel close to, whom you see as the Buddha, who is your example, this is the most precious thing. Without that, it feels a bit remote. Do you understand? So I don't know, I don't know what Geshe-la does. Does he give empowerments here? Or does he not give empowerments? Does Geshe-la give empowerments here?
He's given one empowerment.
What?
Avalokiteshvara.
He won't give
Kriya
one.
Tantra.
You ever ask him? Do you ever, as a group of students, do you ever go with your cutters and cry with tears of faith in your eyes and prostrate and beg him from your heart to give you empowerments? I bet you don't. Because we're sitting here, the Westerners, we think I'm not supposed to ask, it's rude. Excuse me, you beg from the heart on the knees with tears coming out of your eyes. Are we communicating? As a group, you boss your guru around, give us the empowerments. Or at least, if he won't do it, you say, will you please join us in taking empowerment from His Holiness online? Now, some lamas don't like to do that. I don't know what Geshe's position is. Is he saying?
We did it once.
With him? You did already? Which one?
Haruka.
So you have done it?
A small, just four of us.
Okay, four, good.
But we didn't announce it to like everybody come.
How come?
To do.
You kept it all secret. Why? Holy mother.
It was a few people asking each other, do you want to do this together?
And did it together with Geshe or what?
He came.
Good.
We had not asked him, but he came.
Because he's waiting for you guys to ask. So I think you should do it again. And His Holiness allows us to even take the initiation from a recording.
He does.
Well, I'm sure that's what I've done with people. Lama Zopa now gives permission for us to take 8 Mahayana precepts from a recording. They're on there. The initiations are online on the Dalai Lama's website.
It's wonderful.
So I really got a feeling, those of you who feel like you're not, you feel you've got faith, you've got the Dharma, you want, please come together and talk about it and request Geshe-la to educate you on it, to give. Has he given you teachings on the 6th session Guru Yoga?
No.
You should ask. Oh.
No, he did one time.
10 years ago when I was here, do you remember when some people took Kala Chakra and you asked me just to talk a bit about the 6th session Guru Yoga? I don't know much, but I had to do it. It's really, you need this, but you got to ask. Geshe-la's so humble and patient.
Venerable, there's too much secrecy in this place.
It's everywhere, darling. Don't say that. It's a question of people not sure what to do and how to do it.
Well, I understand that.
That's the main reason.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not saying you run around taking 42 initiations, that's the other extreme, and then you drop the lot. Or you treat it like Netflix, you turn it on, and you go, I'm bored by this, and turn it off and go watch Netflix. It's degenerate times, because it's so available. That's the tragedy of now. So if you're going to be serious about it, what's that at the back? What do you want to say?
Yeah, I think it's the commit. I think some people are a little hesitant because of the commitment too.
Because what, darling?
The commitment.
Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about vows and commitments, shall we? Would you like me to do that? Sure. Okay, good. All right. When you start to drive a car, if you had to list all the instructions in order to tell somebody else, had to write it all down on a piece of paper, you would have hundreds of what are called vows. A vow is a decision to refrain from something. A commitment is a decision to do something. So if you had to write down all the things you vowed not to do just to drive a car, I must not put the foot on the accelerator at the same time as the brake. I must not turn the wheel left if I'm going to turn right. I must not do, I mean, think about it. It's the process of learning something. If you break it down into granular detail, it's all about don't do this and do this. That's what learning something is. But we hear vows, someone's sitting on top of me and, oh, I can't keep vows, and we have a panic attack. It's infantile. So what do you think a vow is in Buddha's terms is all the instructions that help you become a good driver. Here it's instructions to help you become a good person. That's all it's for. So you should be so happy to hear the instructions. Don't kill, don't lie, don't steal. And all the Bodhisattva vows, don't, and the Tantric vows, the third one is don't badmouth your Vajra brothers and sisters. The cause of half the schisms in all the damn Dharma centers is breaking the third root tantric vow, bad mouthing your Vajra brothers and sisters. So it's all don'ts, but we get nervous about don'ts. But the don'ts are thousands when you make a cake, when you drive a car. It's instructions of how to be a cook, how to be a musician, how to be a driver. This is instructions of how to become a Buddha. First of all, a nice person, then a Bodhisattva, and then a Buddha. Are we communicating? So you should be so happy to learn them all. But we don't remember even one hardly. What?
This is probably.
I want a question, not a statement. You give
Okay.
statements. I want a question.
It's all
I
right.
want a question.
This is probably elementary school.
I want
but
a
when is
question.
it-
It's simple.
When is it appropriate to take bodhisattva vows because I eat?
Excuse me, God Almighty. Didn't you not hear my answer? That was for tantric vows. Did you hear what I said to her?
I did.
That's tantric vows are more higher than bodhisattva.
I know
You
that.
just, well then think about it. I'm sorry, I'm not shouting really. I'm not shouting really. I'm not angry. Are you surely you're trying to get nervous?
Because I emailed you last night to ask if I could take
Excuse me, think about it. God damn it, what is a bodhisattva? Tell me some qualities of a bodhisattva. What would it be like?
them.
Tell me.
You commit to becoming a Buddha.
Well, God
So that you can
Almighty,
help
when you
other
want to do
people
that,
in
why
life.
wouldn't you take the bodhisattva vows? Why wouldn't you?
I do want to.
Well then, why's stopping you?
I was hoping to take them with you.
I'm not doing it. It's not my job here.
Okay.
You got to guess here. I can't do that. It's rude. I would never do that. It's
Okay.
inappropriate.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry. Excuse me.
Well, I'm Catholic. I have to be. I'm
Listen,
Catholic.
okay, there's 3 sets of vows. They're all different levels, okay? The first level of vows are the prati moksha vows, individual liberation vows. They're related to the first and second scopes. They're related to the renunciation path. They're vows of refraining from harming. That's where all the don'ts are. Vows are don't. And second vows are behavior. They're not about the mind. They're behavior, what you do with your body and speech. So the first lot is obvious. The very first level, entry level, junior school, grade 1 practice in Buddhism is refrain. You control your body and speech from doing what? Harming others. But you've got to be clear why. We don't like this in the West. We just think it's, we just think, oh, it's because it hurts others. It's true. And this is the crucial difference between being a Christian and a Buddhist. It's vital to know these things. Jesus has his list of 10 don'ts as well. Don't kill, don't steal, don't jump on the wrong partner. It's the same. But the reason is profoundly different. When I asked my Jesuit Buddhist friend, by definition, what is a sin? What is a negative action? He said, by definition, it is doing what God said not to do. And that's reasonable if you have faith in a creator and he runs the show and he's the boss. So it's obvious doing his will is the best action, and the sin is not doing his will because it cuts you off from God. That's the Christian teaching of what is a sin. Well, that's the view we have in our hearts dualistically. That's the view of ego, with respect not to the Christian one, but that the dualistic view of I'm a bad person because I did a wrong action because I'm going to get punished. That's already ego's view. Don't blame your Christian mother or your Jewish mother for that. So that's not the Buddha's view. So first of all, you ask Buddha what is a negative action, and he will tell you that killing is a negative action, and you say why, and they say, you know what, Robina, guess what? People don't like getting killed. It harms others. That's the definition of the heaviest negative actions. So the first level, and this is the point now, getting to the point. But why does Buddha exhort you not to do it? Jesus exhorts you not to kill because he'll cut you off from God, because you've got to do God's will. I'm not complaining. Buddha exhorts us not to kill, not because he says so. He is not the boss. He is a doctor who's observed that by killing and stealing and lying, you harm yourself. First and foremost, that's the point behind karma. We miss that in our culture. We think, oh, that sounds selfish. But you've got to first know that you don't want future suffering. That's why when you go to your doctor, she says, don't smoke. And you say, why not? We know she will not say, because I say so. And if you do, I'll punish you with cancer. That's not, we would laugh at that, wouldn't we? But that's our view of morality. And we hear it as all kind of guilty and neurotic, you know. But the Buddha says don't smoke, don't kill, because guess why? That'll program your mind in the tendency to kill, and you're going to have the 4 karmic results of being born in the lower realms, born with the tendency to kill, you'll get killed or die young, and you'll have a lousy environmental result and get sick and everything like that. So who wants that? Nobody. So the reason behind the first level of the Pratimoksha vows, or even the 10 non-virtues, is you don't want future suffering. You've got to know that from your heart. Be revolted. It's like being revolted at the thought of having lung cancer. No one feels embarrassed to think I'm not smoking because I don't want lung cancer. We all feel dumb saying I don't want to kill because I don't want to get killed. We just think it's guilty. Oh no, I can't have that. So you've got to know the reason behind the karmic one, the first level of practice. That's the Pratimoksha vows. When you take the 5 vows. There's the 10 non-virtues, the general instructions. Then you specify some of them as a vow, and vows are truly stupendous. So this is the point. When you create karma, in order for an action of not killing, for example, to become a virtuous karma and to leave a strong virtuous karmic imprint in your main bank vault, which will be available to you at the time of death, such that when it is triggered, you'll get a decent human body. You need bucket loads of them. In order for it to become a rich, delicious karmic seed in your mind that enables you to get a decent human life again, there's got to be 4 things in place when you do that action of non-killing. Forget vows first. So that is 1, there has to be the mouse in your kitchen. 2, there has to be the intention not to kill it. Oh, I must not kill the mouse. And 2nd, has to be motivated by compassion. That's number 2. 3, you do the action, you catch the mouse. 4, a result, happy mouse. Thank you, Robina, goodbye. That's a complete action of not killing. The crucial piece is number 2, where there's the intention, I must not kill, and the motivation, compassion. If that's missing, then there's no karma. Now, here we are sitting in this room being nice people, right? But we're not creating any karma of not killing, not to mention not lying, not stealing, not jumping on the wrong partner at this moment, because there's no sentient being there. There's no, the first one, there's no object. 2nd, there's no intention. You're not sitting here at this moment thinking, I must not kill, are you? You're not having any compassion for sentient beings you might not kill, and you're not doing the action. So there's 0 karma of not killing, not stealing, not lying being created at this moment. Well, we need bucket loads of non-harming karmic seeds in our mind, bucket loads. So when are you going to create them? It's only when you meet the mouse or meet your ex-husband and you decide you won't kill him. And now anyway, our compassion is not very strong, so we are creating very little virtue of not killing, not stealing, not lying. We need these in our mind stream. So how do you do that? You live in vows. And as Lama Zopa says, the difference is tremendous. And Buddha says vows are like a subtle physical energy visible to clairvoyance. There's something so potent psychologically about living in vows. So the difference is that 24 hours a day that you have a vow in your mind, you've taken the vows in front of your guru on your knees, saying, repeating 3 times, from this moment till time of death, I will never kill. You say that 3 times. When you do refuge or when you do your vows separately, this is the lay vows. Nuns' vows are the same level. Then because of the power of that vow, 24 hours a day that you have it in your mind stream and keeping it purely, you're ticking over virtuous karmic seeds into your bank vault 24 hours a day. So you cannot get ahead without vows. It's not possible. It's impossible. It's the easiest. So if you just have lay vows and then you do purification every day, which puts even more atomic bombs under all the tendencies, because you've regretted the killing, you've had compassion for those you've killed, you've done the Vajrasattva mantra and visualize, and you vow not to do again, you have got the most tremendous practice on the planet. You put your feet up and eat popcorn and watch Netflix all day because you're living in vows. Then you've got the Bodhisattva vows, which are also vows of refraining from harming. but they're more dramatic and more powerful. The first lot are to protect you. The first vows are nothing to do with being kind to others. The first vows, what drives them is the wish that you don't suffer. Don't be apologetic about that. We feel guilty, think it's selfish. You're missing the point. This is the meaning of renunciation. I'm sick of suffering, you know. I'm sick of the harm, the mean things, my sister bad-mouthing you, lying, not getting the law. Forget about bigger suffering. Forget about hell realms. Just this life, being people mean to you, being poor and having problems and sickness. I don't want more of this. I want to have a decent human body. I want people to love me, have good money in the bank, have nice food so I can keep practicing. Then live in vows, baby child, for your own sake. So you watch them like a hawk. You keep those. Then you go to the Bodhisattva vows, and they're the same, don't this, don't that. But the more dramatic, because now you've controlled your body and speech to some extent, now you can begin to realize, oh my God, we're all in the same boat. So now you don't do this and you don't do that. But the reason is because it's the benefit for the other person. And there's like 46 of them. So you better know them. And they're all related to the sixth perfection. So there's like 6 or 7 vows related to, for example, the perfection of generosity. So they're all related, and the difference here is the first level is just the doing of it where you break it. The motivation can make a difference, but the real one is you just don't do it. Here it's more dramatic. It's based on the motivation now. So you break a vow, for example, if let's say, you know, Bob invites me to lunch and he offers me I invite him to lunch, or no, we're to dinner together and I offer him he offers me the bread. Have a piece of bread with me. I say, oh no, I'm gluten-free. Nobody complains about that, but I just broke a bodhisattva vow. I prevented Bob from creating the virtue of generosity. So it demands that you think of others first and then what's best for them. Let's say, you know, I ring up Bob because I'm bored and I just feel like a cup of tea with him because I'm just bored because he knows my boyfriend's away. And he sees it's just not beneficial for me to come. He's prepared to know Robina another day. That's for my benefit. If he just did that with a negative motivation because he's being lazy, then he breaks the bodhisattva vow of not inviting me for dinner. But he might do it out of a wish to be my benefit, so then he doesn't break the vow. Depends on the motivation. You even have a vow in the bodhisattva vows to break an earlier vow if it's truly for the benefit of others. So these are way more powerful, but are demanding that we think of what's best for others. And they've got the tantric vows, the most advanced. And then it's technical. You know, Lama Yeshe's Tantra is highly technical. They're all about controlling, working with, disciplining, utilizing our body and our speech so we can turn it into the bodies of a Buddha. We're communicating here. Vows are don't. Commitments are do. So when you especially take tantric initiation, you have lots of commitments. Commitment to do this practice, commitment to say, I will do this, I will do this. So they talk about keeping your word of honor, keeping your pledges, keeping your samaya, doing your guru's wishes with the wish to stay close to the Buddha. In that sense, it's similar to Christianity. You want to stay close to God, so you do his wishes. It's a bit similar in Tantra, except he's not your creator, that's all. Are we communicating here? So you ask Geshe-la, please. Ask Geshe-la for teachings, ask him to give bodhisattva vows, ask him for the teachings on it. You have to ask him. He's very humble, he's waiting for you to ask him. That's the whole point. The gurus wait us to ask, you know, we have to want it. So he takes you at your pace. We keep thinking, oh, he'll do it one day. We sort of put the emphasis on the onus on him. Do you understand? The onus is on us to want. Are we communicating?
We do have some lamas do come once or twice a year.
Geshe-la invites them.
Yes, Geshe-la invites them.
And then, so for example,
usually they'll give an initiation.
But who invites the Geshe-la? Who requests the Lama to give what initiation?
That would be spiritual program coordinated, which we don't have right now.
I understand that.
But sometimes people ask for a specific.
So, for example, what lamas have visited recently? What initiations have you received?
Ken Rinpoche Losang Delek, I think he gave.
Who is Losang Delek? Who's that?
He used to be the abbot of Sarah J Monastery.
An older version, an older one, way back, very old.
Oh,
is he, or not?
yeah, a while
Lobsang Gelek, you said.
No.
What's his name?
Yeah,
What's his name?
Losang Delek. Oh, I guess Gelek. Oh, Gelek. Okay,
Gelek.
so I got that wrong.
Yeah. Okay,
You
so
know, Ling Rinpoche came
did you ask
a
him for
number of years
initiation?
ago.
Did you ask him for an empowerment? What did he give? Don't remember.
He
It's
gave
very vague.
Matthias.
How many times? So
and
anybody,
he-
you know that all you people have, if you've taken empowerment, have you taken any of these empowerments? Well, honey, you have the bodhisattva vows. You're by definition, you must have bodhisattva vows if you take an empowerment. You have to have. So at least, have you ever asked Geshe to teach you on bodhisattva vows? Have you ever asked him to teach you? Well, how about you ask him to please teach you? You don't have an SPC, so don't wait for Sean to do it. You together, between you, those students, you students together, all of you together, stop the secrecy thing, together, request Geshe for bodhisattva vows, for commentary on bodhisattva vows, for commentary on succession Guru Yoga, and for maybe when you're ready again, all of you as a group to take empowerment from His Holiness, I think online with Geshe. I mean, just recently he gave Manjushri. A few days ago, he gave Manjushri, His Holiness. Got to watch out. I mean, it's very few of the, some Guru Palamas do, but you've got to be just connected to each. I mean, you've got to connect those of you who are here and who are students of Geshe, you know. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I mean, all the centers should be coordinating all of this, but they don't, unfortunately. They have to not criticize them. Just have to know what you want and try to make it happen and communicate with each other. It's so important. Do you understand, people?
Honorable?
Yeah.
So I'm new to this.
Good job, girl.
I was raised Protestant,
Okay,
so I don't kill the mouse because it's wrong.
you say it again, you want?
I don't kill the mouse because it's wrong.
No, so let's analyse that, shall we? Shall we analyse that? Why is it wrong?
Well,
What do you mean? So let's analyse. What do you mean by that? You have to say what you mean by wrong. Why is it wrong? What is wrong about killing a mouse? And that's an important point.
Because it's a living creature.
Okay, so then you've got the Buddhist view. It's wrong not because God said. It's wrong because it doesn't want to suffer. That's the Buddhist view. That's the definition of a negative action. It's because a sentient being doesn't like it. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yes, but the rest of my question is, so I don't feel like I'm coming from a place of compassion. I feel like I'm
I
coming.
didn't, no, it's not, no, listen, it's okay. You've just said it's wrong, which means you know that the mouse doesn't like getting harmed, isn't it? That's perfect. But then the reason this is the point, the Buddhist point, we've got to cultivate the first level of practice is to not want to kill it because you don't want to put the karmic imprint in your mind of killing. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
That's the Buddhist view, and that's renunciation. So that's a very excellent reason. And then eventually we'll have compassion. Do you see? Got to be compassionate for, in a sense, renunciation is like compassion for yourself. I don't want to lie, I don't want to steal, because I don't want that in my mind. That's renunciation, the meaning in Buddhism, and that's for your own sake. We're going to have it very strongly. We're going to know I'm sick of suffering. I don't want that, because everything you think and do and say programs your mind. Then eventually you get compassion for the mouse, and you'll then have that as your main motivation. But it's never a point, like in the Christian ones, where you don't do it because God said, and I'm not criticizing that. Do you see my point?
Yeah.
It's really important, and that's what renunciation is. You've got to be sick of suffering. You've got to be sick of suffering. You've got to be sick of suffering now, and you want to, and therefore you don't want to create the causes for future suffering, which is why you live in vows. Do you understand?
Yes.
People. Anyway, whenever I come along, I have always variations of this type of talk I end up giving. Get people excited. I don't know what happens to it next time I come along. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so people, I know they had this conversation 10 years ago, I think, when I started talking about all the succession Guru Yoga and the commitments and things, you know. I mean, I guess that's here, he's qualified. He's you know, you've got to use him more. I've got to think you've got to, I mean, you know, if you had a bigger program here with different teachers coming and giving courses and things, and anyway, it's up to you people to make it happen, I think, seeing as you don't have an SBC. So you know what you want and try and find a way. Because, I mean, the centres now should be communicating more with each other, and that's what some centres do, using each other's courses. I don't think you guys do this at Kurukulla, do you? Some of the centres use each other's courses all the time. Some people plug into Jamyang and listen to the Geshe Namdak there, and it's just very different now. You don't have to just have 2 classes a week from Geshe. You understand? You want to coordinate, that's why you should have an SBC. That's what, or Sean should be doing it. So maybe you request Sean to organise it. Do you understand? Without criticism. Do you understand? Or you just do it on your own trip. Go off and do your own thing, which many people do. It's pretty you don't do it as a centre though. Just keep communicating with each other, you know. Time for, I mean, we must have a break today because it's Saturday. 11, we start at 10. So I think it's time for a bit of a tea break, isn't it? Have a wee tea break or a scone break or a scone break or a biscuit break or something. What time is lunch? Is lunch
No.
grouped? You're having lunch together here?
Yeah.
Someone made lunch.
12:15.
I beg your pardon?
12:15.
And where's lunch? Who's doing lunch?
Lunch is being brought in.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy. Well, we'll have a break now, a bit of a morning break, and then come back and maybe have lunch a bit late. We can keep it in there, or we have lunch then. It's only an hour. We need a break now, okay?
Can I just say something
Yeah,
before the break?
sure, go.
Connected to what we talked about last night,
Yes.
in terms of bodies being able to be left, a dead body being
Oh,
left.
yes.
If a patient is on hospice, there's no law in Massachusetts that says the body has to be moved in 3 hours.
Well,
or
that's good
3
to know.
days.
That's
So-
very good to know.
But if someone's not on hospice, you have to call the police and then it's their game.
Oh, I
So-
see, okay. Well, that's where it's important to know the laws of your local. It's important to know your laws. It's very important. That's a good point, thanks. So we'll get back to all that later then. So I'll see you in, like I say, I think 15 minutes, then we can come back again, okay? Thanks, sweetheart.